There's a child living inside you right now. Not in a mystical way, in a real, psychological one. The way you flinch at criticism. The way you go quiet when someone's upset with you. The way you chase approval, or avoid conflict, or work yourself to the bone to feel like enough. So much of that wasn't chosen by the adult you are. It was shaped by the child you were, before you had words for any of it, before you could possibly have decided otherwise. This is the last episode of the series, and it's the most personal. Because it's about the thread connecting who you were then to who you are now, and the honest question of how much of it you can actually change. In the 1990s, two researchers, Vincent Felitti and Robert Anda, ran one of the largest studies of its kind. The Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, usually just called ACE. They asked over 17,000 adults about hard things from their childhood, then tracked their health for years. And the results were sobering. The more childhood adversity someone had, the higher their risk of depression, addiction, even heart disease decades later. This study mattered enormously, and here's why. It proved, with hard numbers, something we'd always sensed but couldn't measure. Childhood doesn't stay in childhood. It gets into the body. It echoes forward across an entire life. What happens to a small child doesn't just hurt then. It can still be shaping their health 40 years later. Now, if that landed heavy, here's the other half of the same research, and please hold on to it. Adversity raises the odds. It does not seal the outcome. Plenty of people with hard childhoods go on to live healthy, full, loving lives. And the studies kept pointing at one factor that made the biggest difference in who recovered. It wasn't money. It wasn't a perfect family. It was the presence of at least one stable, caring adult somewhere in that child's world. One person who showed up reliably, who made the child feel seen and safe. That single relationship, the research shows, can buffer an astonishing amount of hardship. So if you're worried about a kid in your life right now, you don't have to be perfect or fix everything. You just have to be the one who reliably shows up. That alone can change a life. Here's why childhood patterns are so sneaky. They don't feel like patterns. They feel like personality, like facts about yourself. A child who was constantly criticized doesn't grow up thinking, I have a belief that I'm not good enough. They grow up just knowing, in their bones, that they're not good enough, as if it were simply true. Psychologists call these core beliefs deep, automatic assumptions formed in childhood that run silently underneath everything. I have to earn love. People leave. It's not safe to need things. The child drew these conclusions from the limited world they had, and they were probably true of that world. The trouble is, they kept running long after that world was gone, quietly steering an adult who never realized a frightened kid was the one drawing the map. You've probably heard the phrase inner child and maybe rolled your eyes a little. It can sound soft, a bit woo. But the real idea behind it, drawn from solid therapeutic work, is sharp and true. It's this. Adults constantly react to the present with the emotions of a much younger self. Your boss gives mild feedback, and the wave of feeling that hits is wildly out of proportion, because it's not really the adult responding. It's the 8-year-old who could never get it right. Your partner goes quiet, and a flash of pure abandonment hits. That's not today's information. That's an old child's terror. And here's the genuinely useful part. The moment you can spot it, oh, that's not my adult self reacting, that's the kid, something shifts. You stop being run by the pattern and start being able to choose. Naming it is the beginning of freedom from it. So here's where the entire series has been heading, and it's the most important thing I'll say. Continuity is not destiny. Yes, the patterns from childhood are real and deep and stubborn, but they are not permanent. Remember from episode 2, the brain keeps its ability to change throughout life. Therapy genuinely rewires long-held patterns. A relationship that's safe in all the ways your childhood wasn't can slowly teach your nervous system a new truth. Even just catching yourself, oh, there's that old belief again, starts to loosen its grip over time. The child wrote the first chapter, and they wrote it the only way they could, with what they had. But they didn't write the whole book. You're holding the pen now. The first chapter is real. It is not the last one. Before we close, one last thought. That child you used to be, they needed things. Safety, warmth, to be seen and held and told they mattered. Some of that they got. Some, maybe, they didn't. And either way, they did something remarkable. They adapted. They built whatever they had to build to make it through the world they were handed. Some of those adaptations carried you all the way here. and you should be grateful to that kid for them. And some of them are still running now, still trying to protect you from dangers that are long gone. You don't have to be angry at that child for the patterns. They were doing their absolute best. You just get to gently, finally, decide which of their strategies you still need to carry and which ones you're allowed to set down. That's the series. We started with what babies secretly know, watched the brain build itself at impossible speed, saw why the first 3 years matter so much, learned why we forget them, and finally, how that forgotten child is still walking around inside all of us. If this series gave you a little more understanding of yourself or of someone you love, then it did its job. Share it with someone who'd feel seen by it. And subscribe, because there's so much more of the human mind worth being curious about. Thank you for spending this first chapter with me. This is Mind.